Do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It is a Monday edition of the Daily Puck Drop. It's February 10th. It is the post-Super Bowl edition. We'll talk about the snoozer was the Super Bowl, the gluttony that took place for many people across the country on Super Bowl Sunday. We've got a Mariners broadcast shakeup, the final edition of the Ground Puck Seahawks Podcast with the great Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree coming up later. And of course, we always wrap up every single show with Hey, What the Puck? Broadcasting from inside the Puck Sports Studios, built by Limback Lumber Contractors. They got everything from free deliveries, whole house packages, to homeowner DIY projects. Largest stock moldings there in the Northwest. Old school service because they've been doing it since 1930. Give Limback Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we are joined by Jim Moore, the go-to guy. He is brought to you by
A Clean Streak, Puck. Brian Turner and his crew there, they'll clean just about everything for you, from gutter cleaning, roof cleaning. And you're not going to expect Brian Turner and his crew to get up on the roof this week, are you? I mean, it's cold in Seattle. I saw about how the temperatures are dipping. No one's going to get up there. So how about getting your windows washed? I looked at my windows down here. There's streaks all over the place. So just check out your windows and give Brian Turner a call at A Clean Streak, okay? Do that. Just talk to Brian. Brian's a cool guy. You'll love him. You'll love him. He loves the show. He loves you. He loves everybody. I love everybody.
Brian is a wonderful man. Also, please go visit pucksports.com when you're there. Join the Pucks Posse community. Also, the QR code on your screen, if you're streaming it right now, will take you there as well. Members get full access VIP content today, so everything that we do free, and extra bonus content as well, including the great Ryan Divish, who is joining us once again every single week. The full Ryan Divish podcast available to all those for Pucks Posse members. We do, though, give for those who don't want to sign up, and I don't know why you don't want to sign up. It's only $5 a month. We do still give you about 20 minutes of that free. And this week when we talk to him, he's down in Arizona. In fact, he's, I think, on a plane today or tomorrow to head on down there with pitchers and catches reporting. The first full squad workout coming up on Thursday. I don't know about you, but you can feel the excitement for Mariners baseball.
Yeah, but you admit that you're still going to suck in the first time Egan has his report and showing the cleats on the concrete.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, again, that hooks me every time. The stupid cleats on the concrete. I start getting all warm and fuzzy inside, but yeah. So we'll get to that because they made was that on Friday when they made the news on the Mariners broadcasting?
I think it was Saturday. I'm not sure. No, I mean, Jude had the report on it. Maybe the Mariners wanted to announce it later, but had to jump the gun a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting the shake up there in the booth.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to that after we talk about the snoozer that was the Super Bowl. At least the party I was at was good. Jesus, other than that, the guy lost a lot of money yesterday. A lot. I don't know about you. Were heavy on the Eagles, right?
Well, God,
Oh, you changed. Oh my God, I can't.
No, Puck. You know what happened? I talked to my kids before the game, and they were both like, "God, Dad, we love the Chiefs today. We love the Chiefs. Chiefs." And then I thought, well, no, I want to bet on the Eagles. And then I thought, God, if my kids are going with the Chiefs, I can't really bet on the Eagles. And so then I thought about what you said last week with two great defenses going against each other. The over-under was 48.5. And honestly, sometimes when you make a bad bet, you go, God, that was fucking stupid. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
I still think I was on the right side on the under last night.
So was I. I went the under
The
as well.
under was the right side to be on, and then it just got obliterated in the end.
The under was the play. It was the play. In fact, I think at kickoff, though, it jumped up. I think it kicked went up to 51.5 or 52.5.
Well, whatever. I mean,
I know, but
how did it get to 62?
I don't know. It looked like it was trending great in the beginning. I'm like, perfect. There was somebody at the party we were at that had took the over, and I said, hey, your over is not gonna work today. Not gonna happen. Guaranteed, not gonna happen.
No, I felt good at halftime about it. 24-0. I mean, the Chiefs did make a little bit of a comeback, but then the Eagles would get the ball and just run Barkley, and the clock would tick, 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 and then no.
It reminded me, though, and everyone was like, oh, what a terrible Super Bowl. And then it just reminded me of every game I watched in the 80s and pretty much the 90s. Like, remember, every Super Bowl, like, in the 80s and 90s, for the most part, was awful.
Yeah, but, I mean, don't you think yesterday's game was interesting, though, even though
Not
it was
really.
a blowout?
I thought it was, no. I found myself very bored.
Okay, well, let me be the devil's advocate on that, because
Go ahead.
everybody went into that game thinking, even Las Vegas, it was basically a pick 'em. Chiefs favored by 1 or 1.5 at kickoff. It was supposed to be a close game. Okay, what made it interesting was that it wasn't a close game, and the Eagles blew the shit out of them. I mean, come on, and you look at it like that. And of course, if you're an Eagles fan, you love what happened, but no one in the world expected Patrick Mahomes to look like he did yesterday. No one. Not a single soul on earth thought.
Okay, the reason I didn't like the game is financially I was tied to that game, and I don't like losing money.
Well, what? So you had the Chiefs?
Yeah, Chiefs, yeah.
Well, I mean, but yeah, that's the other thing. You go into the game. Well, you could have felt stupid this morning going, God, why did I bet against Patrick Mahomes? Just like I always did with Tom Brady. Why did I bet against... It's foolish to bet against Patrick Mahomes, but I didn't realize. Did you? I mean, I knew the Eagles had a great defense, but the Rams seemed to play pretty well against the Eagles, didn't they? They were 19 yards away from beating the Eagles, and so it's like, wait a minute. And I know the Eagles have a good defensive line, and we certainly saw that yesterday. But there was no indication that Mahomes wasn't going to look at Stafford, the game he had against the Eagles. He did fine.
They couldn't block them. They couldn't block those guys. The fact that they had 6 sacks, the amount of pressures that they had, and they didn't, as they pointed out, they didn't blitz one single time. Not one time. And again, this goes back, and I don't know where you were at. Like, I couldn't hear anything on the TV. So there was I can't tell you what Tom Brady sounded like. I can only read today of like, oh, he was underwhelming and not good. I can't tell you a single thing about the commercials because, I mean, we talked about this on Friday. Well, actually with Egan. Just the whole game was the hens in the background. And you're like, oh, my God, can you just please, can someone just turn the mic, turn the voices off all of them in the back? So I'm sitting in the front row too, so I'm trying to watch the game and listen to it a little bit. But yeah, you find out they don't blitz one single time. Did Brady ever say the following? If you were watching it, did he ever say, "Hey, the key to the game is the trenches"?
You know, he did, and it was in a graphic before the game started.
Weird,
and it was as it pertained to Philadelphia.
Well, yeah.
So he was right about that, but I thought of you. I was fumbling around looking for a camera so I could take a screenshot of it or whatever.
But it's true. It's true for every football game. I mean, how many times have we got to say it? It's just true every time. If you're better up front, you're going to win the game. Who was better up front yesterday? I mean, they freaking dominated them on both sides of the ball. And so I hope John Schneider was sitting there. Well, they didn't
necessarily. I mean, Barkley didn't go off, though. So it wasn't like they were dominating with their offensive line.
Jim, go back and watch the amount of time that Jalen Hurts had to throw.
Yeah.
He was never pressured at all. I want John Schneider to watch. Hold on. I want John Schneider to sit back and watch that game and go, oh, okay. So that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Offensive lineman and defensive lineman. God.
Do you think he doesn't know that?
No, I don't think he does.
Somehow he's on pucksports.com right now. And,
I think he's watching and listening.
God, you know what? I've been doing this for like 20 years now, the first 5 in Green Bay and now in Seattle. And I didn't realize that until this schmo on this show.
I don't appreciate being called a schmo.
I mean, I think he realizes all that.
I don't think he does. I really don't think he does. Then why doesn't he do it? Why did he draft Devin Witherspoon over what's the Jalen Carter? Why did he do that then?
Because Carter did that dumbass shit, whatever he was, the car thing. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I'm being a hypocrite because I was like, you can't draft him.
I think you can't really fault him for the Witherspoon pick. But I know what you're talking about.
Witherspoon's been really good. But everyone would say, if you have your choice, take the personality, take the stuff off the field out of the equation, just for this argument's sake. everyone would say this. If you're going to pick between a dominant defensive lineman and a dominant, if I could speak, defensive back, who are you going to take? Defensive lineman. 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Changes the game way more than Jalen Carter changes the game way more than Devin Witherspoon changes the game.
Hey, did you know, here's something else maybe Schneider doesn't know, and maybe you don't know, and maybe listeners don't know either. I'll bring some insight to the show for a change. Did you realize, Puck, that when you have a good, strong pass rush by your defensive lineman, that it makes your defensive backs better? Did you know that?
I've been told.
So you can get away with having above average defensive backs if you have elite defensive linemen. How's that?
Was that another
That's
Brady?
why you bring me on the podcast, right?
Did Brady say that during the game yesterday?
No, he didn't.
How bad was he? I've read that he was bad.
I listened, but I didn't. Well, let's see. I heard him, but didn't really listen. Kind of like when I'm doing the show with you. I hear you, but I don't really listen.
Sure.
Same for you. Same for you with me, by the way.
I
thought Brady was fine. Brady was okay. I didn't come out of it going, God, I can't believe they're paying him $25 million a year or whatever. I didn't think he was that bad, and he's going to get better. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because I don't think he's as terrible as people think he is. And I have a soft spot in my heart for people that aren't that great in broadcasting that are trying to do it anyway, because I know that feeling.
Yeah. Robbie said in the chat he was so unnatural up there. He's kind of been unnatural the entire time that he looks good. Been doing it. Nah, I don't think he does. I don't think he looks good.
Kathy thinks he needs to gain some weight.
He's
too skinny.
He looks like he hasn't eaten a meal, and he's got more plastic surgery. Like, stop with the plastic.
You think he's done some plastic surgery?
Oh, that's 100% he has. He's even. I think he's admitted that he did. They joked about it at the row. Look at his eye. His eye is droopy. His eye is not as level as the other one. Oh, he is 100% had work done on his face.
But he's not Kenny Rogers. I mean, he's
not yet. But I think once you start cutting, you can't stop. And I think he's going to keep cutting.
Is that something you'd ever do?
No.
I wouldn't either. I don't get it. Just age gracefully. It's okay.
Yeah, it's I mean, hold
on. No, he wasn't. I didn't think he was bad. And what's the other guy, Burkhart? He does a good job.
Kevin Burkhart, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of people, I just read it this morning. A lot of people were just kind of like, he underwhelmed in his very first Super Bowl. And you're paying him $350 million. He's got to be a lot better than just, kind of underwhelming. But yeah, you're right. The Eagles, the defensive performance was unbelievable. They were everywhere. That front four dominated them left and right.
Should
Sweat.
Should Sweat have been the MVP?
100%. Josh Sweat was the best player on the field. And I hate this league at times because they always default to the quarterback. Jalen Hurts played fine, more than fine, but he wasn't the MVP of the game. The MVP of the game was Josh Sweat. That's who the MVP was.
Yeah.
The defense was the MVP.
Well, the defensive line was clearly the difference in the game. And it was just so weird to see Mahomes acting like Sam Darnold in the pocket. I mean, I understand that Mahomes, just like any other quarterback, needs more time to throw, but usually he can improvise and figure out a way to get it done anyway. How many times have we seen him just going all over the place, especially on third down, and he always gets past the damn yellow line, and I'm always betting against him. And last night, that just didn't happen. He just got swarmed under over and over again. It was weird to see.
That's just why, you get guys like, hey, John, if you're watching or listening, get somebody like Sweat, who single-handedly can change the game. Like, when you have those guys that say, you never have to blitz, you never have to do anything. It's just
say something we don't know already, would you please?
Yeah, I'm talking to John. John, it's okay to find guys that are game changers on the defensive line. It's okay. You don't have to go and overpay for Draymond Jones and an always injured Uchenna Nwosu. You don't have to do that.
I know, but he's searching for those guys that will do that, and that's why he goes on a limb for Draymond Jones and Nwosu.
How much time do we let him searching?
I'd rather he search for offensive linemen this year than defensive linemen.
How about that offensive line? My God, I don't know how people can be that big. What'd they average? What was their average weight?
They said 338.
330. What was the height? Like 6'5", 338?
Well, and then they took it back to what, Green Bay and Super Bowl.
The first Super Bowl was 100 pounds difference.
245. Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy.
What's it going to be? What's it going to be? Yeah, I mean, in 10 years, these guys are going to be average like 400 pounds, and then they're not like they're just tubs of goo. I mean, they're like huge, but they're athletic, and they just were. I don't know. They were just dominant, and kudos to the Eagles. They punched them in the mouth, and they absolutely never could recover after it. Just.
When have you ever seen Mahomes throw interceptions like that?
Not in the NFL.
That's like what a bad quarterback. That's like Geno throwing in the end zone a couple times.
Oh, don't say that. Don't blast Geno. You can't blast Geno.
No, I'm just making one random comparison.
People are gonna come after you, Jim.
When Geno throws an INT in the red zone, you kind of go, God, why didn't you see it? That last one where he threw it, and the guy got it on the 12-yard line. I'm going.
Oh, Braun with the diving. Because
that was a point in the game where it was 17-0. Yeah. I said to Kathy, I go, you know what? As bad as it's been for the Chiefs, if they go down and get a field goal or a touchdown here just before the half, 17-7, and they get the ball first coming out of the locker room, then it's a game. But no, as soon as he threw that interception and they scored, I think to A.J. Brown, 24-0, and it's game over. And I was gonna, live bet the Chiefs at halftime. You know what they were though?
15.
They were only 10-1. 10-1 to come all the way back. What was
the line? Wasn't the live line like 15?
Well, I don't know. When I looked at my, hey, by the way, I'm legally betting now. I got on DraftKings
because you have it in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I've been trying to tell you that for months, and you didn't want to listen.
No, I know, but they wouldn't take my driver's license, and I had an issue with it, and somehow it went through. And God, you can just Venmo him money. It's awesome. So now, when
you actually win money, you don't win Bitcoin, right?
So now when Brian Turner Venmos me a clean streak, at cleanstreak.com.
It goes right into DraftKings.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Hey, Brian at Clean Streak. You want to know where your money's going? It's going right into a DraftKings account. And as fast as it goes in, Brian, as fast as it goes out.
He already knows that, though, and he's good with it. Yeah, he's good with it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there
you go. You got any other pearls of wisdom? Like,
sure.
You win games in the trenches.
You win games in the trenches.
Pass rush,
pass
makes your team
good.
better.
Yeah, more prepared team.
Line.
More prepared team, yeah. No, I'm mocking people that do this all the time and tell you about all the other intangibles of a fucking football game when there's one. There's only one. Just win up front. Not hard.
No, okay, but yeah, if you don't have an elite quarterback, you're right. I mean, but Mahomes last night he's the kind of guy that can overcome all that stuff, and he's been doing it.
But their offensive line is not elite. They got a couple guys, but that's been their biggest issue. That's why they had to move the cat out to play tackle. Their tackles have been an issue all season.
Yeah. It's just but that was impossible. That's the reason I thought it was an interesting Super Bowl, and I know it wasn't competitive, but just that the Eagles had their way in the fashion that they did made it an interesting game. It was because did you see anything in the lead up to this? I mean, early on in the playoffs with the Eagles, when A.J. Brown's reading the book on the sidelines, I'm going, God, this team is in disarray, man. If you got a receiver that's reading a book on the bench.
Do you remember? You got to go all the way back to week 4. They wanted him fired. The fans wanted him out.
Yeah.
When they got off, I think it was 2-2 start. They wanted him gone. That was a big talking point on all those, the yelling, screaming shows that you enjoy.
I do.
Yeah, I know you do. That was Sirianni. I'm not sure he's the guy. I don't think he can. You know what? They're gonna have to make a decision if they want to move on from Nick Sirianni, and then of course, the A.J. Brown reading on the sideline. I mean, there was just a lot of issues. And did I see it? No, but I think if we took a step back and took off like our chief colored glasses, right, and thinking, oh, Mahomes will win it and he'll make plays down the stretch and all that. You just look how dominant they were though in the postseason, and since they started off 2-2. I mean, they were killing teams. Their average margin of victory since their bye was like 14 points. I mean, they were handling teams. And I think if we probably needed to look back and pay attention to more of it, but no, I went back to that Rams game. Yeah.
just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but they came back in that one, though. But for the most part, early on, were they not dominating that game? And the Rams came back on them.
Well, they were, but God,
Sure.
The Rams were 20 yards away from winning that game.
I know, but the Eagles kind of let the foot off the gas pedal.
Okay.
If you remember they kind of got conservative. They were winning. They were fairly dominating the game, weren't they not? Or am I misremembering that? And they kind of let their foot off the gas pedal.
Well, what?
You're right. The Rams came back.
They were up 13, and then they did allow the Rams. I'll play along with you, but still, I didn't see anything in the Eagles that suggested that they were going to do what they did yesterday.
No, I'm with you on that one. No, I didn't think that they. No, I'm 100%. Did not think they would.
And think about it. That Chiefs team was 17-2. It's not like they were, some wild card team that just kind of half-assed their way to the Super Bowl.
Sure. Well, they won a lot of close games. I mean, that was their thing. They were where the Eagles were winning in somewhat of a dominant fashion, like double-digit victories. The Chiefs were the opposite, all single digits, all close, all down to the wire. I mean, they still won the games, but they were winning them real, real close.
Well, yeah, and then you can, in hindsight, go, well, it finally caught up to them. Well, going into the game, if you'd said it's going to be a one-score game, you'd side with the Chiefs in that because they've been so successful. They've been in that position for so long, and they got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
God, he looked like he was seeing ghosts, though, didn't he? I mean, and even when he was out of the pocket and had some room to throw, it was just like, what he didn't look like Patrick Mahomes. He looked flighty, and how about Hopkins on the one play that he could have made?
He tripped over his own feet.
Alligator arms. What the hell was he doing there?
Well, one, he tripped on his own feet. Two, he didn't give much after tripping. Receiver didn't seem like he gave much of an effort to try and catch the ball.
He could have caught that and gone for another 10 or 15 yards.
I know, but he tripped on his own feet, though. That's why he was falling down.
What happened to him? Wasn't he a superstar not that long ago?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird game plan. I don't know. They didn't run the ball at all. I mean, my God, they didn't have their first 9 drives. I think it's the first. They didn't even get past. They didn't run a single play in Eagles territory in the first 9 drives.
Well, their only first down came on the first play from scrimmage. That was it.
Yeah. I mean,
they had 23 yards at halftime.
I don't know how that. It was odd. I don't know. On my Costco hot dogs, though, that's what I brought to the party. Those were a hit, though. Everybody loved the Costco hot dogs.
Yeah, what was that all about? So you and Egan talked about that before, and then you decided to go to Costco, and what, you got 20 hot dogs for $1.50 each?
15 hot dogs.
Okay.
15 hot dogs. I mean, it's the greatest deal in all of the land. First of all, it's $1.50. 15 hot dogs. My wife went and picked them up. I think they were like $22. I mean, just think about it. You can't get anything for $22.
Did you get the 15 drinks too?
No, we didn't get the 15 drinks.
Because you get the drink with it.
Yeah, exactly right. People were like, "Oh my God, did you make these? Did you replicate the Costco hot dog?" No, I said, just went and bought them. So this is what we're contributing this, and plus then I made you would love it because you got a sweet tooth. Just made a great, really diabetes type of dessert, which was like chocolate chip, like cookie dough on the bottom, then brownies, then chunks of chocolate mixed in, then a brownie top again. Oh, then a chocolate chip top again and baked it.
Oh, really?
Pretty good.
How fast did that go?
It was a big hit.
I bet.
It was a big hit. It was a big hit.
All right. Yeah. Okay. How many calories do you think you consumed?
Yesterday with the
seriously. I mean, do you think like 5,000?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, because you had some of the dessert. You had 1 hot dog, maybe 2.
Yeah, there's some mac and cheese there, homemade mac and cheese, which was great. A buffalo chicken dip, which was great. A 7-layer dip that was great. There was chicken wings there. Someone brought these they look like mini calzones, but they were like balls, like these pizza balls. Those were great. I don't know. 5,000 at least.
Isn't it like well, of course, there's several days. I mean, there's 365.
That's why I wrote
a year
gluttony
where
on the
you and I
rundown,
are
Jim.
fine with 365 days a year. You and I are fine with gorging ourselves. But
That's
as far as a country goes, it's okay to gorge yourself on Super Bowl Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah, but I did feel a little like, okay. I mean, we came home, and I'd kind of sit on the couch and like, I think I fell asleep right away. Like,
What about booze? I was a little disappointed in myself. I only had like 1.5 drinks was all.
oh, that's it. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
That's fine. I was drinking some Modelo. Good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good party though. And then at halftime, everybody was bored. I think you're right though. The commercials.
I didn't see it.
I watched them all, and I'm at a point now, especially with my age and stuff, where I'm going, God, maybe I just don't get it because I'm 67. You know, you always chalk it up to like, shit, you're old, you know, so you don't get it anymore. So I kept watching them going, okay, come on, man. Just think if you were like 35, would you think this is funny? Would you think this is funny? Would you think this was clever? Would you think this was good? And you know what I always come back to? These people are paying $8 million, these companies,
$8 million
for 30 seconds. And before these commercials get to where we see them, there's all these boardroom meetings and people sign off on this shit. And I'm going, really? I mean, some of them, you just look at the ad and you go, you paid $8 million for that? And maybe it's just, even if it's bad, you know, as long as it's memorable and they remember your company.
So nothing was good.
Some of them don't even put their company name until the very end of the ad. And I'm going, whatever. But yeah, I thought they were subpar, but.
Well, the best one, the one I did notice, and this will shock probably many, the one I did notice was the one commercial for breast cancer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was moving.
Well, because they just kept showing all the breasts. It was a very clever commercial, by the way. Very clever. Just that's all they showed was just tits everywhere.
Yeah.
It was really smart. And then it's like, hey, you know, got to be aware, got to protect these. And I'm like, you damn right, you got to protect them. You know what? America, protect those with your life.
I like the little girl with her potato plant.
Oh, I did see that one, but I didn't hear. But you didn't really need to hear that. That was a cute one. That was right. That was clever. That was really clever.
Lay's potato chips.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah,
and everybody was talking about Harrison Ford and how great that one was.
I heard that. I've read about that, but didn't. Again, that was one of those. I think I popped up to get some more dip. Probably at that point, some more dip. And then, of course, I knew what was going to happen at halftime because there's a bunch of, there's moms and women there, and then there's a bunch of kids there as well. And I knew, and then everyone's talking during the game. And I knew the second that the halftime show came on, it would be silent. No, be quiet. Kendrick's on. Everyone's got to be quiet now. I'm like, oh, really? How about during the game? And no one was quiet during the game. But now we got to be quiet for the halftime show. And as you texted me during it, you thought that was one of the best shows you've ever seen, and that you're getting in line for your Kendrick Lamar tickets coming up Climate Pledge real soon.
He's going to be at Climate Pledge?
Yeah. I got an 11-year-old begging me to go, and I'm like, yeah, no.
Okay, number one, I didn't text you at all, and number two, I wouldn't have texted that if I had texted you. Okay, so you're just flat out lying.
I would just play along.
I've decided that there's no way I can do any good to anybody, including myself, by saying what I thought of the halftime show.
Oh,
yeah,
I be that
because
guy.
if I
didn't like it, you just say you didn't like it.
I thought it was really good, someone would say, "Oh, he's just saying that because he doesn't want to be."
Just say you don't like it. Just say you didn't like it.
No, you can't. You can't say that.
Why can't you say that?
You
just say I didn't like it.
There are reasons you can't say that, Puck.
Oh, there are not any. Listen,
yes, there are.
No, they're not. Just say it's okay to say you didn't like something, Jim. No one's gonna call you racist because you said that you didn't like Kendrick Lamar.
In these times, people read into it like it's because you're clueless old white guy, and that's why you didn't like it. It's okay.
You just.
And what the fuck, man? I am a clueless old white guy. And,
you didn't like it. It's not really.
But you can't say that. It's almost like I don't give a shit if somebody says they don't like a country performer. Even if I do, that's okay. But there are things you can say and things you can't say, and occasionally I use a filter. And
yeah, I don't.
I will say that it reminded me of Squid Game when I saw all those guys in their whatever they were wearing, and apparently there was some message that he was that he was conveying to us, and I didn't pick up on that because I'm a clueless old white guy, probably.
Yeah, I think you're reading
What was the
way too
message?
much.
There was some political message that he was conveying.
I don't know. I think you're reading way too much into this. Like,
No,
just
I don't.
it's yeah. I think it's okay to say.
Okay, what
I
did you
just
think?
didn't like
What did you think of the halftime?
I liked it. I really liked it.
Did you?
Yeah, I really liked it. Now listen, because but you have no idea who he is because you don't. You're just
No, I've
it's
heard
not-
of him. I have heard of him.
I've heard of. I mean, I've had to listen to that song for like a million times because of, because I've got two kids. I got a teenager and an 11-year-old, so they listen to it all the time. So I'm well aware of who Kendrick Lamar is. But
Okay,
I
can I give you an opinion that'll probably?
let me just say, but if Skillet was performing the halftime show, it's okay for me to say that's the worst halftime show in the world. Now, I'm not out of touch.
Well, yeah, I
or
wouldn't be
clueless.
offended by that.
I know you wouldn't.
Skillet's not everybody's cup of tea.
I'll say this. I will say this, and then you're going to say, "Oh my God, you can't say it." I can say it. I thought the anthem was terrible. It was awful. I thought John Baptiste. I thought he was terrible.
Kathy thought it was one of the best anthems she'd ever heard.
I was. Eh.
It was.
There's a standard that has been set. There's been a standard set by Chris Stapleton that will never, ever, ever be reached ever again.
Okay, but didn't he bring a New Orleans flavor to the national anthem?
Wasn't that track? Maybe it wasn't terrible. I didn't like it.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
Okay. Do you want to hear a bad take?
Yes, I do.
Are you sure? And I'm kind of known for having bad takes. I swear to God, if I'm a kid and I see rappers, that are really popular, I think to myself, damn, I think I can do that. I think I can do that. I really think I can do that. But when I see somebody who's really talented that can sing, I don't look at them and go, yeah, I think I can sing like Stevie Wonder or name some great singer. I don't ever sit there and think, yeah, I can do that. Kendrick Lamar, if I'm a kid, I'm watching him yesterday going, I mean, I've seen Stevie and Mikey and Jake, their buddy Jake, and they, do their little, beatbox rap thing, where they're doing their, I don't really know the difference between what they're doing and what Kendrick Lamar is doing. And I told you it was a bad take, and it probably will be to a lot of people. Yeah. But I swear to God, I would think if I was a kid that I can rap like that guy, but I can't sing like Stevie Wonder or, Whitney Houston or whoever.
Here's a little known secret. You couldn't do what they do.
No, I couldn't.
But not your kids couldn't. No,
I disagree. I think there's a bigger pool of people that can do rap than sing like some of the best singers in the world.
Yeah, that's just you not being a little out of touch.
That's not me being out of touch. That's
just
me
a
giving
little
an opinion. That's me giving an opinion, which will be considered a bad take by some.
Okay, we'll consider it a bad take. That's it's an art form that no one just off the street could pick up and do.
Okay, I disagree.
Well, it's okay. It's okay that your opinion
I disagree.
is wrong.
I think the greatest singers in the world, and if you're little Johnny at home thinking, yeah, I'm going to be, that guy someday. Well, no, you're not. But, sometimes if I see some of these rappers and I'm thinking, God, Johnny, if you work at that, you could maybe do that too.
Yeah, that's not how it works, but okay. That's not how it works.
Okay. All right.
But this is an opinion, viewers.
You look like you're getting ready to try and save myself from something.
No, you go ahead and bury yourself. I don't care. This is an opinion of someone who likes Skillet.
I do like Skillet. And I'm fine with people that don't like Skillet. I get it. It's not for everybody. Christian rock bands are not for everybody. They are for me.
I just think it's so funny that you listen that you listen to a Christian rock band.
Yeah? What are you saying? What are you trying to say?
I just think it's odd.
There's
nothing Christian about you. There's nothing God-fearing about you, and you listen to a Christian rock
No, I'm not into God and church and all that shit. Yeah. I'm not. I admit it. But the Christian, like you get this perception of Christian music. I mean, these guys are just hard rock, and they call themselves a Christian rock band. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe you need a little more God in your life.
How are you going to transition out of this?
I don't know. People.
you're going to get comments. You're going to get comments. It's like, God, Morris so off base about
Well, there's usually
rap music that you got to get rid of him because he's so fucking clueless.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of that for sure.
What's Casey Brown saying? Hey, Casey,
who is
come
Skillet?
on. Google
Skillet. No one
Check out
knows
their
who
music.
Skillet is.
Skillet should do the national anthem next year.
Yeah, they should. Hey, you bring Skillet out. Do the national anthem. That'd be great.
Okay, scale of 1 to 10, the halftime show yesterday.
For me?
Well, what? Am I talking to Casey?
Yeah, well, I thought you were asking Casey.
You're the only dipshit I'm looking at on my screen.
Hey.
Me?
Hey. What would I give it? I enjoyed it. A 9? It was good. I thought it was good. Oh, it was real good. I enjoyed it. I don't believe you. You're just saying that. So you're just saying that.
How many people gave that a 9?
That was a 9. I was entertained.
God, I wish I'd had you as a professor at Washington State.
The whole idea is to be entertained, and I was entertained.
Okay.
I had a couple beers and some tequila shots in me, but I was entertained.
Okay. All right.
I came away and said that was more entertaining than what I just watched in the first. What I watched in the first half, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just my family because Mikey texted me. He was like, Kendrick Lamar's trash.
Oh, well, but Mikey might be a Drake guy. Mikey comes off as a Drake guy. Do you understand that? What's going on there? Probably you don't. There's a big feud between him and Drake.
Yeah. And what he some pedophile reference in the music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were all kinds of hidden messages in there. I'm surprised that I didn't read between the lines on these messages.
Someone who is as plugged in as you. I was surprised you didn't get that. So, here's the one thing.
We were lucky though. We were fortunate. The one Super Bowl I went to in Detroit when they lost to the Steelers. Do you remember that halftime show?
Yeah, I do.
Rolling Stones. I mean,
bunch of old people like you up there thinking they can still play music.
Hey, see that? Where's the camera? There you
still
go. Right
playing
there.
music.
There you go.
Like they were they were kind of like playing and they were like wandering. Where am I? Do you remember the Phoenix one? Who it was?
God, it was I kissed a girl and I liked it. Right, Katy Perry.
Katy Perry. That's right.
I petted Katy Perry's dog, by the way, during the press
conference. Wow, that was. I thought that was going to come out wrong. I petted. Excuse me. Who did you pet? I did not see that at all. I was out in the concourse.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, drinking Budweiser.
Oh, you were down there, but you didn't. Oh, you're talking about the halftime show for
halftime show. Yeah, I didn't see it. Did not see any of it. So.
Yeah. All right. Okay. How are you going to transition out of this today? Are you going to go to the Mariner broadcast shakeup, or what are you doing?
Speaking of poor decisions. Hey, one last thing before we get, because I do want to address that. Hey, one thing I do want to say, though. Can we stop talking? I've heard people say this. Oh, that was such a dominating defensive performance. And I've heard people compare it to the Legion of Boom. It's not remotely comparable what the Eagles did yesterday.
Yeah,
No, it's not. I'm going to tell you why it's not.
Okay, go ahead. But it's
not even remotely.
It's remotely comparable. Go ahead.
Like how Manhattan is close to Seattle, remotely.
They shut out Patrick Mahomes through 3 quarters and held him to 23 yards in the first half.
Yeah.
I think you can say not comparable if you want and be a homer for the Seahawks.
Okay.
But it's remotely comparable.
No. I strongly disagree. First of all, Chiefs.
So you love Kendrick Lamar. You're wrong about remotely comparable. But go ahead.
Hey, shout out to Serena Williams. I thought that was Serena Williams on the field, and it was. Turned out to be her. I couldn't believe that. I was like, that girl really looks like Serena Williams.
Yeah.
And then my daughter was like, I think that is her. And then they're like, yeah. The Chiefs were a middle offense this year. Middle. They were 17th in total yards. They were 15th in points. They were an average middle offense. The offense that the Seahawks took out was the best offense in the history of the sport. the history of the sport. The first offense to score over 600 points. They had a quarterback throw for over 5,000 yards. They had a quarterback throw for over 55 touchdowns. They had 5 different wide receivers had 10 touchdowns or more. They averaged 340 yards, number 1 in the NFL. They averaged 38 points a game, number 1 in the NFL. And that defense destroyed them. That was the single greatest defensive performance in the history of the Super Bowl. And what the Eagles did yesterday is not remotely close to what the Seahawks did. And if the next person on one of those shows that you like brings it up one more time, well, I was kind of like Legion of Boom. No, it was not.
Okay, you made a fair case for your point there. Yeah, you did. You did. And the other thing that kind of tarnished the Eagles' performance yesterday was allowing those garbage time points that caused us underbettors to lose.
I know. God. That's right. Did the Seahawks allow any garbage points late? Nope.
They did not. No, they did not. Boy, the Percy Harvin game.
That's when you knew it was.
How good a player was he? If he just had a better head on his shoulders, God, he would have been Hall of Famer.
But that's why I just want to, because a lot has been brought up about it. I think it gets lost sometimes what that defense did in that game to that offense. I mean, they just obliterated Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos.
They did. And the similarity, too, at least, I'm always looking at point spreads. That game was a pick 'em, or it was a 1 point. Denver was favored by 1, maybe. So just like yesterday.
Yeah. All right. You want me to transition over to the Mariners' decision?
No, but make it sound seamless, though.
I can't. I'm not good enough to do that. You're better at it than me. So the Mariners have announced a broadcasting shakeup. So poor Aaron Goldsmith. Old Goldie's got to do like 160 games or something. He's doing like all the TV games. And so no Blowers. I hope Mike is okay, and this was Mike's decision. I don't know what's going on with Mike. I don't know if there's something health-wise. Maybe he doesn't want to do it anymore. I don't know. But so Blowers is out. They did not replace Dave Sims, so it's the Goldie show. Goldie's doing like every game. And then for the first, Angie Mentink is the lead analyst. She'll do the majority of the games. And then they'll rotate in Ryan Roland Smith, Dave Valley, Jay Buhner. Radio side, pretty much everything the same, but our guy Gary Hill, my guy Gary Hill, will get more games. We'll be doing more games alongside Rick Riz. So there you go.
Okay. So Gary,
Brad Adams is back. Brad's back. Brad's traveling with the team. So they are sending him on the road. He's doing like, I think, almost every road trip, which is insane. And Jen is at home doing the games. And then when Brad comes home, he hosts the show out in center field. So,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it sure got a lot of comments, the story that Adam Jude had about different changes. And people are just so opinionated about broadcasters, and rightfully so. I mean, all of us like some broadcasters and don't like others. But man, it's painful sometimes to read some of those. Like Angie, I think Angie's going to do a great job, and I've always loved Angie, and so I'm never going to have a bad word to say about her. But oh my God, there's mixed feelings about Angie taking over in the booth, where they, I don't want a female up there, or she talks too much, or whatever. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man. Let's give her a chance. Let's give her a chance in this new role and see how she does. I think Goldie and Angie could be one of the best in baseball.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. I mean, you know this, right? In this business, this industry, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you just. Some people are going to like you. Some people are going to not like you. You're just never going to be beloved or liked by all. That's just the nature of the business. And so,
well, it's even better, and I've mentioned this before, for people to think you suck, or if they think you're great, that's better. But if they think you suck, that's not so bad either.
Well, because they listen or they watch. They still, I think that's how we got the majority of our listeners.
But God, people are so cruel, though. God, the Angie comments, the Angie hate. I'm just like,
let's be honest.
The biggest criticism, I guess, and I didn't notice it when she was doing it, is that she talks too much. Let it breathe or whatever. I don't know. I don't pick up on that, but it bothers me when people are critical of Angie Mentink. I feel so close to her. I love her all the way back from the days when I used to write about her, when I called her the Hottie or Lottie. I mean, she was, and I did. Back in the day, you could get away with that shit. I texted her the other night and I just said, hey, thanks for being so cool way back when. You let me call you the Hottie or Lottie. Because she sure as hell was. Huh?
What did she respond to that?
Oh, she was fine. She was always fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, God, why not? If you're a woman and somebody thinks you're attractive, what the hell? Is there something wrong with that?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
God.
So then, but we got a lot of these questions. This one coming from Christian. What's Kruger's role? I don't know it because he was not mentioned in the story. So I don't know what Bill's role is. We hope to get Bill. I hope Bill comes back and does this with us or with me weekly. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I hope he does.
Well, best case for you and Puck Sports is if he doesn't do the root sports stuff anymore. And I say that because he's already on the edge with being candid, being a root sports employee. Imagine what he's going to be like when he's not beholden to them and can say whatever he wants to and speak his mind. And Kruger should have been brought back by Root Sports. That was the biggest mistake they made because he's so good and he doesn't blow smoke up our skirts. He talks about the Mariners like they should be talked about. When they suck, we know they suck because Kruger tells us they do. And he doesn't just, dance around the topic.
Yeah.
He does it in a way that's not overly critical,
but they don't want that.
He's being honest. I know, and that's why he's not coming back. Probably.
I would venture to say that probably some of it. Yeah, there's probably some of that. There has to be a lot of that. Hey, you're a little bit more critical than the rest of them, and that we just don't want that. And I'm not saying the other people don't do a good job, and they do a good job, and like Buhner and Valley and Angie and Ryan Roland Smith. But if we're being honest with all of them, they're not going to push the envelope if they're not playing well.
Well, Buhner might. Buhner might.
No, he won't.
He won't? You remember the other guy who used to push the envelope was Hindu. Yeah. Hindu was good at doing that.
Yeah, I don't think they want that. They don't want I just think it's a lot of work. I mean, you're talking 100, and I know they're covering baseball, and I get it. I think sometimes people don't understand the how hard it is. But for Aaron Goldsmith to call 158 games, I mean, that is not a day off. I mean, think about it. He's getting barely any time off. That's a lot.
I think for us as Mariner fans, and I'm sure Goldie has his critics too, but sure. I think it's a win having as many games as Aaron Goldsmith. I mean, that guy's a pro, and he's
very good.
He's entertaining. He's informative. He's everything you're looking for in an announcer. And the thing I like about it the most, all these games that he has to do with the Mariners, and for him personally, it's probably not a great thing because he was kind of like doing stuff on the side. And every time he did something on the side, I thought, God, I hope he doesn't leave, and get opportunities elsewhere because I'm selfish and I like having him here with the Mariners and watching him on TV and listening to him. And so that's good as far as I'm concerned that he's doing that many games.
Yeah, but I'm happy that he's doing a bunch of. I think they're all happy that they're there. They've got jobs. I'm just saying that it's like that's a lot of work to do. I mean, these guys got families. I mean, that's just a lot of traveling and no time off. That's a lot. That's just a lot of work.
Well, and it's funny. I mean, that making cutbacks there. There's people behind the scenes that probably don't have jobs anymore that we don't know about.
Sure.
And it's so funny too to me because the money they're saving with cutbacks at Root Sports, it's like nickels and dimes but it's just typical of that organization and what they're doing with. Like you're trying to save money by getting rid of somebody who's making $50,000 a year or whatever. It's like, what are you doing?
So they'll get underway this week. Their first workout's Thursday. Their full squad is next Tuesday. First Cactus League game. I don't know I assume that will be broadcast, will be televised. I think they're using the Game Changer app. So make sure you send your invite so you can be a family or a friend on Game Changer.
I don't know
who's there. I don't know who's there. That wasn't a hit. That was an error. Can you change that, please? Or vice versa? Can you give little Johnny, hey, can you give Julio a hit there, please? We don't want to reflect his batting average poorly.
They are kind of dumbing it down, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Are they just going to have a camera behind home plate?
Yes, it's the same thing they did last year. They have like 2 cameras, one behind. What did they do last year? It was just a center field camera, I believe. A center field camera, and then I think one behind the dugout or something. I think they're doing the same thing. Their first game is on February 21st against the Padres, and I think
they are a major league team, aren't they? I mean,
they are. Yes.
We're not talking about Modesto or.
No, they. I'm getting word. Yes, they are one of the major league teams in baseball. Yes, Rob Manfred has confirmed that they are. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You want a proud dad moment? You like proud dad moments before we let you go?
Yeah, I love proud dad moments.
Okay, congratulations to the Ballard Beavers gymnastics team. 4th straight year Metro League champions, dominating fashion this past weekend, Friday night, over at West Seattle High School. And some little girl that I know that lives in our house as a sophomore took 3rd overall in Metro championships. She's first place, won Metros in beam, and 2nd place in floor.
Oh, that's awesome, Puck. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun to watch.
Glad you passed that along.
Team's dominant. We'll see. They got Friday coming up on Saturday. They'll have the districts, and then on to state.
Well, I'll tell you, just as a parent of kids that play basketball and baseball,
yeah,
every time they come up to bat or, they take a shot, you're always hoping it goes in. But I can't imagine being a gymnastics parent when your kid's on that beam. I just can't imagine what that must be like. Because you just, number one, you're praying that your kid doesn't get hurt and fall off.
Yes.
And so, like, at the end of the routine, there's probably a mixture of relief and excitement.
There's a deep an exhale from every parent. Did I say she got first place in beam or bars?
Beam.
I said beam. Stop correcting me from the other side. It's awful. Watching your kid do a beam routine is the worst thing in the world.
Oh, I can't imagine.
It's awful.
And what, it lasts 45 seconds maybe?
Yeah, like it's a little longer than that. Maybe a minute and a half. But it's
the longest minute and a half.
Oh, they're doing backflips and jumping up and down, and the beam is, it's that big. It's a foot. And you're like, okay, please. I've told you the story before when we were at a meet like years ago. We were in the Tri-Cities, and she did some aerial thing, and I'm recording it on my phone, probably like 20 feet away. And she splits the beam.
Oh.
And I'm like, and you can just see, I erased the video. You can just hear me go, ugh, and walk away. So.
Okay, well, has she graduated to the point where she'll let you watch now?
No, yes, a little bit, but I kind of have to hide. Still have
to. So you're up in the corner of the rafters somewhere?
Yes, I kind of have to be. I can't make eye contact. Although it's getting a little bit better.
Okay. All right, so you had your proud dad moment. Can I have my
Sure.
wise ass co-host moment now?
Here we go.
So Ballard, they've won 4 in a row?
4 years in a row, Metros, and then Yep.
Okay, so there must be some Metro schools that probably don't have a gymnastics program.
Most.
Well, I'm just.
Go ahead.
I was just, like if Ballard's able to win 4 in a row, there's probably a reason why that's happening.
Yeah, maybe because they're good. Could that be the case?
Am I the only one laughing at my bad joke?
Okay, we'll let you go. Way to ruin it. Way to ruin a great proud dad moment by pointing out something negative.
I'm a dick. That.
Sounds about right. Okay.
I'm a dick. Come on, I'm a dick. And you can't let me go now.
I have to. I got the Ground Puck Seahawks Podcast, where they're going to be excited to hear about my adventures, especially Tim, because he's got kids.
Okay, tell me I didn't hurt your feelings, though. I didn't mean to.
No, you didn't hurt my feelings, but maybe a 15-year-old.
I have comment regret. I've got comment regret now.
Well, I've got a 15-year-old that likes to listen back to the show, so you can tell.
She does not.
It's one of the first things she does when she gets out of school.
Not
puts on the daily puck drop every day as she walks home.
Not a chance. 15 years of doing broadcasting. You know how many minutes my daughter has listened to that? 5 maybe.
5 minutes, that's it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sir. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Okay, Puck. Go Cougs. Take care.
Be well. Go Cougs. There he is, Jim Moore. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays brought to you by A Clean Streak. A sad day because for the final official time on our weekly chats, it is the Ground Pucks podcast, the Ground Puck podcast with Curtis Crabtree of Fox 13, Tim Booth of the Seattle Times, all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, which is locally owned and operated by 2 diehard Huskies. They're named Manny and Roger. They've also got the brand new Old Tavern domestic lager beer. Go check it out now at Georgetown Brewery. Visit georgetownbeer.com. Easy, smooth drinking domestic style lager, and it is local, unlike another domestic style lager that claims to be from here, but it's not. The Old Tavern is actually brewed here. All right, we got a lot of football to wrap up the Seahawks, wrap up the NFL season. We'll talk to these guys as we get probably closer to the NFL draft, and I'll miss them, and they're going to miss me. But we welcome Tim Booth, again of the Seattle Times, Curtis Crabtree of Fox 13. Gentlemen, how was your Super Bowl? Tim, did you have a big party? You watch it by yourself? What'd you do?
We had a handful of friends over that we've kind of done this every year for, I don't know, going back probably 10 years now. Actually, I know it was at least 10 years because they got together the year that so just got a small group of friends together, had a couple Georgetown beers, enjoyed just kind of sitting back and watching the game.
Just and just stuff your face with food.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our friends brought over homemade meatballs to make meatball subs and stuff for for dinner. It was terrific. It was an excellent evening.
Curtis, how about you? For some reason, I can see you going either way. One, you watch it with a big group of friends, or two, you sit down in that wonderful lazy boy and you watch it like an analyst.
Yeah, I was sitting right here last night watching that game. Certainly have done the group thing, but not this year. Just decided to chill at home and watch it from here, which gave me the chance to turn it off at halftime. No, it wasn't quite that bad. But that's kind of the way that one went, was that it wasn't very competitive for very long. And the Eagles absolutely roared to that victory last night.
For both of you, Tim, did it remind you of the Seahawks Super Bowl? Just in terms of, again, I'm getting a little over people comparing them or saying, it's just as what the Seahawks did. I mean, I guess it's comparable just how dominant, the Eagles were. I think the level of opponent was very different from what the Seahawks did, but it did have those vibes of what Seattle did to Denver years ago. Yeah, I mean, and early on it did. Like you like within the first, 2 or 3 offensive series for the Chiefs, I kind of felt, it did kind of feel like, hey, are we watching, Super Bowl 48 again? Just with the way the Eagles defensive line took over and dominated in a not that dissimilar way to what the Seahawks did to the Broncos, 11 years ago now. It definitely had that feel, flashbacks of kind of just how overwhelming the Seahawks were that night at MetLife versus, compared to what the Eagles showed last night. Yeah. The Curtis, it really was just watching it, a reminder last night is that, and we joke about the trenches, we joke about the offensive line, defensive line, how just they're keys to every football game and every team. But boy, that was, again, if you needed another reminder of what wins in football, that's what wins. And that was hammered home last night with how the Eagles performed against the Chiefs.
So you're saying it's tough to play quarterback when they can't have any time in the pocket and are under siege the entire time? That's makes things a little bit more difficult for an offense to work.
Curtis. Yeah, it does. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, noted. Because I mean, the Eagles made Patrick Mahomes look like a replacement level quarterback last night. Yeah. And he's obviously the furthest thing from that. And yeah, I mean, it's basically the way Geno Smith had to play all season was that. Now not a lot more teams were able to do that to the Seahawks than just the Eagles. Because of the struggles that they had on their offensive line. But yeah, playing quarterback is somehow infinitely tougher when you don't have time to do anything or a running game to support you. And that's basically what Patrick Mahomes had to experience last night. And guess what? It made him look pretty pedestrian. So at the end of the day, like, winning the line of scrimmage still matters on both sides of the football. I mean, we've seen it on the defensive side for the Seahawks too, where they can't stop the run, and that's just a miserable place to live as a defense too, where you're just getting run down the field the whole time. But yeah, I mean, I thought it highlighted very much the struggles that the Seahawks had this year and what that can do to a team when you don't have that kind of support from your front, from a running game, and the quarterback has to try to do everything. It can make for a very, very long afternoon/night.
Did you get a when you watched it yesterday, Curtis, and then Tim, you can answer it after Curtis. When you watched what the Eagles were able to do yesterday, and then compare that to where Seattle is right now, what the gap? How far do we think Seattle is away from where the Eagles are at right now?
Specifically against the Eagles, they're a long way away because they would lose the matchup battles and all those circumstances. I mean, from the majority of the NFL, I don't think they're that far away. Okay. And I mean, the Eagles are going to be pressed to try to keep this team together because it's tough to do that. Particularly, it is the difficult thing of teams built like the Eagles to keep things together because there's so many key pieces that you have to try to keep in place to make things work the same way. But yeah, I mean, it's a matchup game sometimes too, and against the Eagles, there's a very big gap because of how far behind they are on the line of scrimmage. At least on the offensive side, I think they are closer on the defensive side, but it very much highlighted that area of concern for the Seahawks still for sure.
It's hard to make that kind of comparison because of how year to year the NFL ends up being, but to Curtis's point, yeah, there's a pretty big gulf there between where the Seahawks are at and where the Eagles, especially the way the Eagles played last night, are at. Yeah. And to, like Curtis said, it'll be really difficult for the Eagles to keep this all together in the exact same way as they have, as the team that they put out this year. But yeah, I think there's obviously levels to everything in the NFL. And I think the gap between where Seattle's at and where most of the playoff teams are is rather small. I mean, we saw that by the fact that they were essentially one game from actually being in the postseason this year. But the gap between that group and the true elite of the NFL, which the Eagles are in that, the Chiefs are in that, the Bills are in that conversation, that the Lions you can throw in there for the, outside of the divisional round game against Washington, that group, there's still a pretty big gap. And it's some of that can be made up through scheme, but ultimately it's going to come down to improving the talent in some very key areas for this team.
What's the Tim? What's the biggest decision they need to make now? What is it before we get into the draft and we'll start going down that line? What's the most pressing need right now for Seattle? Number one on the chart of offseason things they need to accomplish.
I mean, the easy answer is deciding what your quarterback situation is, but we all believe that it's going to be Geno for at least one more year and maybe 2 more years. Right. It's got to be the interior offensive line. And I guess with that, you also have to make a decision about your left tackle. And I think Charles Cross has played okay. So far he's been a serviceable left tackle, but he was also taken in the top 10. And you take a left tackle and around the top 10, you're expecting that guy to be a dominant franchise anchor player. And at times we've seen that, and at times maybe we haven't. And we've seen, not the greatest tape in moments from him. I think overall you would say he's been above average, but there are you kind of expect a different level if you're taking a left tackle that high in the draft. There's bigger issues on that offensive line than the way Charles Cross has played, and I think you would take that, overall if you were getting better play from the other positions up front. So I think overall it's the offensive line has to be addressed in whatever way, that's free agency or throwing a bunch of draft capital or see if you can make a trade for someone. But to me, that's number one.
Curtis, what did the Leonard Williams restructure mean to you? What did that signal to you?
Nothing in particular. I think it was probably something planned when they signed the contract. Okay. As part of the way that the process of his years with the team were going to develop, that were built-in restructures to kind of make the money work. Because the number one thing they have to do this offseason is actually get under the salary cap, because they are not right now. So that, purely the number one thing they have to do is make those decisions, probably with Tyler Lockett, and then guys like Noah Fant and Rayshon Jenkins and Draymond Jones and guys like that they need to move in order to get under the salary cap. So that's task one for them, and the Williams restructure is part of that to add some more cap dollars for this year.
All right, so when it comes to we're all in agreement, right? And Curtis said, I mean, Tim already addressed it. We're all in agreement that Geno's going to come back. That he's the option for next season. Now beyond that, we'll wait and see. What do you think? Not to maybe get into too much of the weeds of the numbers, Curtis, but what do you think it looks like when he does come back? I mean, I know he's still on the team, but they're going to obviously probably do something to restructure his deal. What do you think it kind of looks like, or what do you expect to see there?
Yeah, I think when we were talking about it a few weeks ago, I think I said something along the lines of 2 by 40-ish or so. I think made sense in some way. However you want to structure that. I think that's about the number that tends to make sense. I'm sure he wants to push it higher than that because he has an argument against the other players at that position that he's better than some of the guys that would be higher than him on that list. I mean, if you just look at the average annual by year salary, these are all quarterbacks that make more than $40 million a year. Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa. All of those guys are north of $40 million a year. Tua's north of 50, for God's sakes. And Geno can very competently look at his career, his resume with the Seahawks over the last 3 years and say, I'm better than that guy, and that guy. Why are you keeping me at 40 when I should be up at 45, 40? And that's going to be the decision on the financial front that they're going to have to work on. The thing working against Geno is the fact of his age, the fact he is in his mid-30s and doesn't have the lengthy career ahead of him that some of those other guys did when they signed the contract. So that's why I think somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million a year on a 2 or 3 year extension is what that conversation would kind of look like.
Tim, we're going to get the NFL draft at April 24th. Will be the first day in Green Bay, where the draft will take place this year. Will this be the year he finally drafts a quarterback, John Schneider? And I know he's done it twice before, but
you mean like really draft a quarterback?
Yeah, like is he really going to draft a quarterback within the first 4 rounds? Does he take a quarterback?
If the quarterback draft was better. If the pool was better, I would say yes. I think part of it will tie into what the length of this deal for Geno looks like. Are they just, is it a 2-year deal where they're chewing up his number for next year when he's got a cap number of $44.5 million? And is it essentially a 1-year extension and you're just kicking the can down the road by 1 more year and then addressing things after before the 26 season if he's essentially doing a 2-year deal, it could be up after 26 depending on how you restructure it. Are they doing a 3-year deal where the numbers are spread out a little bit more? I kind of feel like how that deal ends up being put together will kind of indicate sort of the urgency of whether they actually are looking at a quarterback in the draft this year or not. If it's on the shorter term, then you kind of have to, right? I mean, you kind of have to invest some sort of capital earlier in the draft on whatever that option is, whether it's Quinn Ewers or Jackson Dart or what name that second tier quarterbacks that's going to be coming out of the draft this year, or is it a 3-year deal and you give yourself the wiggle room that okay, you've got Geno at least for 2 more years, most likely in that type of situation, that you can kick the quarterback in the draft question to the next year. I tend to think that they will this year. It seems, as we've joked about, you can't draft 11 offensive linemen this year. But because of I think some areas that they feel pretty confident about moving forward, you don't need to address certain positions in the draft. And so I think this leads to the opportunity that earlier in the draft, you could go after a quarterback this year.
How much pressure, hey, Curtis, how much pressure is on Schneider this offseason?
I think coming off of how poor last year's free agent class even was, probably quite a bit, to be fair, just to try to make some improvements to this roster. Because, I mean, there was a lot of their offseason additions last year that just didn't really contribute much of anything to the team. I mean, you're talking about their highest contributors basically being probably rotational pieces in Rayshon Jenkins and Jonathan Hankins, were as close as you came to having true impact, ads in free agency. So that's something they have to be better at this year, because that's where you spend more money on that front. And so when you make those decisions, they have to be right. Or you have to hit on everything you do in the draft. And they've certainly gotten back closer to hitting on the draft side, with more of their picks here recently. But you have to do both to be the team to not make big misses. So I think you're to the point where, given the coaching change of this last year, where they're going to be with the quarterback decision moving forward, I think there is some pressure on what this is going to look like.
Hey Tim, what areas do you think Mike Macdonald may be more comfortable in next year and year two?
That's a good question. I think he
paid professional, Tim.
I know. I mean, you are. I think he'll be more comfortable with the structure of what their defense is going to look like from the start. There were so many moving pieces early in the season last year that, as we've talked about, you have two linebackers you bring in, and then by midseason, both of them are shipped out because they didn't work the way that you thought that they were going to in your system. You bring in Rayshon Jenkins is a great example. Like, you bring him in thinking he's going to be your starting safety, and then all of a sudden he's got an injury and Kobe Bryant jumps in, and Kobe Bryant looks like your dude moving forward at one of those safety positions. I think there's a lot more certainty about how those guys are going to fit into the system, how they can play, how they played based off of the results that you saw after the bye week this year. That I think that creates a great jumping off point for him to know that the defense is going to be to the point of development that he's probably hoping that it would be at going into year two. That's probably the area he feels more comfortable about. But at the same time, I wonder, you bring in an offensive coordinator who's still on the younger side. I don't know if that's necessarily a situation where he's just turning the offense over to Clint Kubiak and just saying, here you go, you run the offense. I'm gonna focus on the defense. Let me know when we have a big decision. I wonder how much he's still going to want to be involved in sort of, being a part of the offensive discussions week to week, game to game, especially early on, with knowing what happened this year and knowing that he's got a new guy in place for next year.
Hey, Curtis, has he indicated at all at the end of the season if he will continue to call plays? I mean, remember when he first got hired, he said, hey, I'm going to call it initially, but I think if and when I feel comfortable handing it over, I will. Has he said with 100% certainty that he will once again call plays in 2025?
Yeah, he did say that. That is his intention to keep doing that. Yes.
Okay, I was just curious if that would change at all. And again, I mean, there's plenty of coaches that are coordinators, most of them usually on the offensive side that are also the head coaches. But there's a few defensive guys like McDonald. I think who's in Houston, D'Amico Ryans. He calls, I believe, the defense. What, Curtis, is there someone that you expect to take a jump next season in 2025? Maybe a younger player on the team that was okay, decent this year, but maybe expecting in next year's campaign that takes even a bigger leap. Maybe similar to what we saw from the first year of Jackson Smith and Jigba to last season, what we saw.
The two that come to mind for me would be another leap forward for Derek Hall, and then Kobe Bryant in the back end having a full season to run at safety. I think those would be the two that are most readily at the front of my mind. But that being said, Tyrese Knight had a great second half of the year once he took over in the starting lineup too. I think he could be a really good piece. So I think those are the three that immediately come to the top of my head when I think of people who could be possible to do that. Probably just because of the circumstances and the other two, but I'll say Tyrese Knight on that front.
Hey, you know what, Tim? We haven't talked about Ernest Jones yet. Like the priority for Ernest Jones. It's got to be high for this team.
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, you found your linebacker, you found your middle linebacker. It seemed like off the, I don't want to say the scrap heap out of Tennessee, but like, dude was available all of a sudden mid-season. You bring him in, it's like, hey, it fits, it works. It seemed to be a great partnership with Tyrese Knight. That's got to, in terms of your own free agents, short of restructuring or extending Geno and figuring out DK's situation, that's got to be really probably your number 3 priority in terms of your own guys for next year, because again, you cycled through Tyrell Dodson and Jerome Baker through the first half of the season because you couldn't get it figured out at that position, and it showed up that you couldn't get it figured out at that position. And once Ernest got here, things calmed down and you started to play the way defensively everyone expected them to play kind of from the start of the year. So it's got to be one of their top priorities, probably their top defensive priority when it comes to their own internal free agents for this offseason.
And it was weird, right? There was a story, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. There was a story, hey, they're not really talking. There's nothing yet. And then I think it was Jones himself, maybe in the locker room, remind me, said, no, don't worry about it. We're going to get it done. He seemed to indicate it's going to happen and I'm going to stay in Seattle. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, it sounded like there was some talks at the end of the year about, because the Seahawks have done that in the past with guys where they have tried to get something done before the end of the regular season. I think KJ had one of those at one time, for example, where they got the deal finished.
I think.
Yeah, got the deal finished in late December before the season ended. I think that's the road that they were going down with Ernest to trying to get something done. It didn't happen, but he came out and sounded as confident and as, definite that he expected to be back here next year. And for him, I mean, it makes sense. Like you have this situation where you think you're settled in LA, you get dealt to Tennessee all of a sudden, then you get dealt to Seattle, and he's still young. And he seems like the kind of guy who wants stability, just from the little bit we've had a chance to talk to him. So I think if he sure sounded confident. So if they can come close on a number, I would expect that it'll get done.
And it's also probably a situation, Curtis. I mean, this is a guy that's at 25. This is going to be the one contract that really is going to set him up for the rest of his life, and he's got to maximize that, not only for him but for his family. He's going to look for his family, years down the road and generations to come. So if another team comes in, and I agree with you, he probably wants some stability, but you can get stability elsewhere if they're going to pay you some more money. I was just recently looking across an article, I think it was from PFF, that had him, I think, the 4th linebacker, at least in their rankings. It was Greenlaw, then it was Bolton from the Chiefs, then Bobby Wagner, who just continues to want to play football, and it's doing so. And you know what? Drag him off the field. Play as long as you want. And then it would be Ernest Jones. They have him landing in Arizona. Now that'd be a gut punch.
Yeah, I did see that clipped from PFF online. I mean, look, as Tim mentioned, Ernest was pretty clear that he wants to be here. He's a 25-year-old linebacker. Ernest was very put off by the moving twice in 4 months thing that happened this last season. He very much wants to be somewhere, and I think he really liked what he saw here. I mean, you saw what the Baltimore linebackers got out of playing under Mike McDonald in prior seasons, Roquan Smith, etc. I think he could understand very well that this is a very nice fit for him, and he liked it here and everything that this kind of set up to be for him. So, I mean, I think you could see him easily sign a 5-year extension, and that contract's not going to be a big problem for them for the long term. That's a guy you want under your roof if you're McDonald and the Seahawks.
All right, Tim, DK Metcalf, still in a Seahawks uniform next season. Will they? I want you to look in your crystal ball, Tim Booth. when you're not traveling all around this great country covering sports, I want you to look at that crystal ball. Tell me, is he wearing? Did you see? Right, you look into it. Do you see a Seahawks uniform next season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a little. We've talked about it all year long. At the end of the day, the dude is still a little bit of a unicorn when it comes to that guy, that size, that skill set. Yeah, I see the other side of the argument of this would be your chance to possibly get some really significant value, for him in terms of a trade partner. But I don't know. I think he'll be here. I don't. That's me just guessing. Plenty of people have been wrong in the past when they've said, "Oh, this guy for sure is not getting traded." But I think he'll be here. I think he'll be here.
Yeah, it's just an opinion. It's all of it is just an opinion. You think, I think he'll be here. Maybe
Yes.
There's always a chance he could get traded. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think Curtis would agree. I think that he will be here, but I do think that there would be a possibility that the team would look to move him if someone blows you away. I mean, that's the thing with trades. If someone comes to you and goes, here, we're going to give you a couple of firsts and we're sweetening the pot even more. I mean, you're just a fool to listen to that stuff.
Yeah, I think there is a circumstance in which he can be traded.
Yeah.
And I know I have been the one that's made the case that it is a possibility over the last several weeks when we've talked about that as a concept, as a theoretical discussion point as to why you would go down that route.
Yeah.
I still think it would be tough for me to see them do that and move DK because he is as productive a receiver as he has been through 6 years in the NFL. I mean, the most productive in franchise history through 6 years of a career. Has certainly, you can make the argument that if you don't have that piece in the offense, does Jackson still have the same numbers that he did this year as his draw in the offense? One of the reasons why that was freed up for him.
Fair.
So all of those considerations go into it. And I think the more likely scenario with both Geno and DK is that they're extended to bring their cap numbers down and to keep them in the fold for another couple seasons with Geno and probably a little bit longer for DK.
Fellas, it's a wrap. We're done. What are you going to do with all your free time now on Mondays?
We had free time on Mondays. I don't know. I don't know this thought of free time.
You don't got to sit there and talk to me anymore. You don't have to hear me ask the stupidest and the dumb questions week after week. You're free.
You know what this allows me to do, Puck? This allows me to listen to the Daily Puck Drop. Because think about all the things that we have to, and this is such ass kissing. Think about all the things that we have to get done in order to clear our calendars to be able to come on for 30 minutes every Monday and talk. Now we can spend that time, at least I can spend that time listening to the Daily Puck Drop.
Get those start working on those golf swings so we can go out and play a round. Okay. Curtis, you never take a break from working.
I do that.
I realize actually not true. I haven't touched my clubs in 3 months since the bye week when I went down to Dallas to go play and go check out that Linkin Park concert. That's the last time I play. Last time I touched my clubs. So
I went and hit a bucket of balls with the little man this weekend. Already a blister on the finger.
I'm going to Phoenix in 9 days, so I should probably practice the swing and get it out of hibernation a little bit before I play down there. So.
Yeah. It's already terrible. I take 1 hour hitting a bucket of balls and already going, I need to change everything. So welcome back to golf season, which is my favorite activity every year. Got to change everything. New grip, new setup, new swing, all of it. And then that will last for a week, and then I'll revert back to everything else.
None of us are changing our swings. None of us are making. No, it's not happening. We'll go buy another club that'll try to fix something, and we'll do that instead.
I did that. I started looking. I just want to see what did Golf Digest say? 2025 best irons. I already went down that rabbit hole.
I need some fresh wedges and might consider a new driver for the first time in 6 years. But
yeah, God, it's dumb. Thank you so much. I had a blast. Hopefully you guys had a blast doing it every week. We'll check back in. We get closer to the draft. We'll do some stuff and we'll if you want to come back, I would like to do. I think I want to do the draft show again. So if we want to do that, the live draft show, and maybe at that point we can get Bob Condota to work a computer.
And you know that's not happening. You know that's not possible.
He's told me when we saw you guys for lunch last week. He said, "Hey, I got a new computer. I think it's going to work." I said, "Okay."
Yeah, but the person running it is still the same.
Fair point, Curtis. That's a fair point.
Sorry, Bob.
I did enjoy it. Thank you for doing it. Appreciate it. Big thanks to Georgetown Brewery for sponsoring it all year long there as well. These guys, though, keep following them. Curtis Crabtree, Fox 13, Tim Booth, Seattle Times. Not just the Seahawks. They'll start covering Mariners, and they cover the Kraken and everything else that's going on in Seattle sports there as well. So keep an eye out for all of their work, again, up at Fox 13 and also the Seattle Times, seattletimes.com. Thanks, boys. We'll talk soon.
See you, Puck.
See you, Puck.
There they are, Tim Booth and Curtis Crabtree. Again, follow all their work. Curtis, it's Curtis_Crabtree there on Twitter and also fox13.com. And then for Tim, by Tim Booth on Twitter and just Tim Booth's work up there at seattletimes.com. And he does it all. He'll start covering Mariners. He already does the Kraken now. And then if there's any NBA news, Tim will be on that one as well. All right, before we go, we got to wrap it up with Hey What the Puck, which is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage. They are going to take care of you. It's locally owned and operated. Big thanks to Trent and his company. Been with us from the get-go. Great guys, great company. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917 or visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. We'll just get a little personal on Hey What the Puck, because I mentioned it earlier with Jim, and we're just having fun. Everyone's got a proud dad moment, and I certainly have had a proud dad moment this past weekend, and proud of them no matter what. But watching your kids compete at a high level, and as we mentioned this, if you didn't join us, our gymnastics team, my daughter this year left her club gymnastics team to join high school. Wanted a little bit, just wanted less pressure. Wanted to just have fun again. It wasn't last year, just wasn't having fun, because that level of gymnastics is very hard and very difficult, and there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of work you got to put in, and there's a lot of great lessons that come out of it too as well. And coaches are great and all that, but there's just a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on. She's just had decided, made a very mature decision to leave, and it was very difficult for her. She's got a lot of great friends that she's still friends with over there to join high school gymnastics, and just said, and for those, you can't do both. All right, that's just kind of their rules that they have. So she made it, and nothing could have been better. It was the best decision that girl ever made, and it was all her decision. We support her no matter what she was going to do, and just her joy of the sport came back, the joy of competition came back, and she's thrived, and we're just blessed and just thrilled to watch her and the rest of her team. Her team is tremendous, by the way. Again, they're 4 straight Metro championships. They'll be one of the favorites heading into districts this week, and they'll certainly be one of the favorites at the state meet coming up in a couple of weeks. But just for her and for anyone that's has got kids competing, it's just so much fun to watch your kids compete at a really high level, and to focus, and all the hard work they've put in behind the scenes, and then when they've got that moment. And gymnastics is a weird one, right? It's different than team sports. I mean, it's a team sport, but all their things they're doing is individual. They've got 90 seconds. All this work they've put in, they've got 90 seconds basically on each event or less. Some, it's like a minute. Like bars is not that long. And that's it. That's all they got. And there's no one else out there that's helping them. Just them. And to watch them all just kind of go through that, and the focus and the laser focus, the attention, and all of it, the drive to make it happen, and then to execute it, and to know that they did just a complete awesome job out there. It was really, really fun, and just couldn't be happier for the entire team, but happy for her and proud of what she did, because it's just it's kind of inspiring to watch someone make a real big life decision, and I tell her this all the time, that God, you are so much more mature than I am, especially at that age, probably even now. And you made just a great life decision for yourself, because you just wanted to be a little bit happier, and she hasn't looked back. So it was a great finish for her, taking first place in Metros and Beams, second floor, third overall, and just fun to watch. And I just think all of us as parents, you see these parents all the time that are a little bit more involved from the stands, a little yelling and screaming, and the car ride home, that's not fun, and all of that. For all of us, just take a step back and enjoy watching your kids compete, win or lose, whatever happens. Just enjoy the element of competition, because there's nothing like it. Nothing like competing at doesn't matter what level, but there's nothing like, and nothing can ever replace that drug of competition. So that's it. That's Hey What the Puck. Again, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. All right, coming up tomorrow, Danny Kelly will be back. We'll talk football with Danny. We'll shift our focus with Danny to more of the draft, because he does a lot of draft coverage. John Canzano will join us tomorrow. And again, this week we'll kind of put the bow on a lot of our NFL stuff. It still will be around. Danny will be around through the draft, and Rob Rob can stay as long as he wants. We'll be, certainly through the draft with him and Garofalo and all that. But we will start to make our transition more into baseball, and some of the familiar names from last year are coming back and all that. And we'll kind of slowly but surely start to transition a little bit next week on that one. And get ready for baseball season. All right. That's it for the Daily Puck Drop on a Monday. Again, everything up on YouTube. When you're there, please subscribe to the channel. Leave comments there. Try to get to as many as they possibly can on your favorite podcast platforms, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube Music. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter at all. All available on all the podcast platforms. The Daily Puck Drop will be up there as well. Also, pucksports.com. When you're there, sign up, become a Pucks Posse member. Just $5 a month. You support everything that we do here at Puck Sports, all the free content and content that is just exclusive for members. As I mentioned before, we got baseball season starting. Divish, the best person that covers the team, with us every single week. We'll have longer form podcasts with Divish every single week. We still will make a portion of it free to everyone, but the full video and podcast will be just for Pucks Posse members as you gear up for the baseball season. All right. Any questions, concerns, thoughts, whatever you want, always email me, please. I answer every one of them because I got nothing else going on. Puck@pucksports.com. All right, everybody else, enjoy the rest of your wonderful Monday. We will talk to you tomorrow on a Tuesday edition of the show of the Daily Puck Drop, 10 a.m. live. And as always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you, but you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!